Hello everyone, it's Fire Emblem 30th anniversary. Really, you'd have to say a historic event. The actual anniversary falls on the 31st of March next year, 2021. Until then, this game will be available to purchase digitally only, and after that date, 31st of March, no longer. So if you want it, please make sure you purchase it at some point before the 31st of March. There is no physical game in this box because they have not produced a physical copy. Even in this box there will only be a digital code. So what is this all about? I've made, as usual, some notes, and I'll be consulting my pieces of paper because there is quite a bit of history involved, and I think it's really important. It's not just gaming history, it's Fire Emblem history. Fire Emblem, the very first game, was subtitled Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. And it was released in Japan exclusively in 1990 for the Famicom, the family computer in Japan. It was generally apparently disliked by critics who said the game was too complicated and the art was bad. Oh dear. However, general audiences liked it, and word of mouth eventually led to more positive sales. Now, one of the developers said in an interview, when the NES version of Fire Emblem first went on sale, almost nothing was sold in the first 2 months. However, the game slowly spread by word of mouth, and after a few months it began selling well. I'll continue the story in a moment, but first let's have a look at this box. And I can tell you that it is extremely heavy. The format of the box, the size and format, as people have pointed out on Twitter, is very, very similar, practically identical to this one. However, this one for Three Houses has a matte finish on the cover, and it is not quite as thick a box, i.e. the depth is not the same. This is slightly slimmer and not quite as heavy. Actually, I would like to know how much it weighs, so I will just quickly get our scales. Just a moment. 1.715 kilograms. 1,715 grams. That is a fair old weight. I will now start diving into the box. Here we are. This is the weight. This is a heavy hardback art book, and I will get it out of its cellophane so we can have a look at it in a moment. So I'll continue the story of Fire Emblem now. Fire Emblem released for Game Boy Advance in 2003. The full title of the game was Fire Emblem The Blazing Blade. It is the 7th entry in the Fire Emblem series. So that came out in 2003 for the Game Boy Advance. It was the first one, this 7th Fire Emblem game, to receive an English localization for North America. Now, that is the game which we call just Fire Emblem in the West, that I have a copy of on my Wii U on the virtual console there. That was the only way I could purchase it. That game performed well enough to inspire a handful of sequels, with the Sacred Stones on the Game Boy Advance, then Path of Radiance for the GameCube, and Radiant Dawn for Wii. And finally, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon on the DS. And that is a remake of the original game, of the 1990 game. Now, I got this a long time ago, and when I started playing it, I was quite inexperienced with Fire Emblem, and I had very little idea really how to go about playing it successfully. So I remember struggling, and I think it is quite a brutal game, really. I don't think I ever completed it, not surprising. So I have high hopes now that finally I may be able to do so with the original remastered, remade version we've got here. So let's have a look at the goodies and see what's inside here. This is the poster in the box. So I assume it's from the Nintendo Power magazine. It says volume 11.5. So that is really kind of cool to have. So we'll take a look at this box now. Take up your sword and cleave a path to victory. After 100 long years, the shadow dragon Amideus has reawakened, and the Dark Pontifex is his dread ally. Fight your way across the continent, recapture Falchion, the stolen blade of light, and bring peace to the land. I just love all the original artwork. I am really, really hoping that this might be, just might be, the beginning of a glorious revival for the back catalogue of all the Fire Emblem games, or most of them. It would be great to have them remastered, reissued, localized in many cases. What is this? Some of you might have seen my videos on the Atelier series Vita games that come with little glass paperweights, and how I just had to collect them all. So I have a bit of a thing about glass paperweights now, so this is really nice to have. The artwork looks like a sort of transfer. I can feel it a bit on the back of the glass. I'm not quite sure, but I assume that's what it is. And there's obviously my digital download code, and here are some bits and pieces. So here is a map of the continent. Which on the back has all these character details. Now the game is, being an original 1990 game, is 8-bit. So I'll be very interested to see how they have dealt with those graphics for the modern age. And here is a Lovely little manual, which is only right and proper because an old game should come with a manual. And I'll just have a quick look inside to show you. And it's got what you would expect, the normal useful information, and some really neat character introductions, like this. I just love having small manuals like this that I can browse through and, you know, dip into details, maybe remind myself of certain commands and functions. It's just both useful and lovely to have. So now we have to get onto the art book, and I will quickly try and get the cellophane off. So what have Nintendo done to make this game a bit more approachable for modern audiences? And I think they've probably done the usual thing as with some other recent reissues and remasters. It says in the details, new features include quick save and quick load, and those two are of course really, really useful. And also rewind. Rewind is an interesting feature. I always think, oh, that's great, and it gives you a bit of a feeling of backup security or confidence that if you make a really stupid mistake, you could maybe just rewind and redo it. But in actuality, when I do play a game that has this feature, I found I hardly ever used it. I'm not quite sure why. It was good to know it was there, but in the end I personally was not a big fan of using it. And there are over 50 characters and over 20 classes in the game. So here we have the legacy of Arcania. I will just have a quick look to see what is in there, so I'm not showing you any obvious spoilers. I'll just show you the table of contents. This is pretty comprehensive, you'd have to say. Oh my goodness, a whole time frame of the history. Some beautiful illustrations, as you would expect. You'd expect nothing less in a book of this type and caliber. Beautiful character artwork. Yes, so there's quite a bit of illustrations from Fire Emblem Heroes there in the later part of the book. So it covers a whole spectrum of Fire Emblem games. Just a little bit of Tiki. "220 pages with a beautiful binding on the inside. This is obviously a treasure for any Fire Emblem fan. So this is the complete box, the 30th anniversary box for Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon and the Light of Blade. And I'm I mean, I'm a bit overwhelmed, but I knew it would be good. I feel sort of reinvigorated in my admiration and love for the franchise. You all know that Fire Emblem is dear to my heart. I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity here in New Zealand to actually purchase this box. I am full well aware that in many other parts of the world outside of North America, many people did not have access to this. We are probably fortunate in that Nintendo happens to have a very strong presence in Australia, and we in New Zealand are a bit sort of a subsidiary to that. So we had a small allocation of this anniversary box that was sent over here, and obviously I jumped on the chance to get one. So I feel very lucky, and there will be more Fire Emblem. That I can promise you, certainly on this channel. Thank you very much for watching. Please keep well. I'm Food for Dogs. Bye-bye.